Imagine being a kid in the 90s, flipping through the different channels on the telly when a commercial blasts through.
Color change. And for some real creepy detailing, Goop FX, please.
With more goops to choose from, Master Kenneth has perfected the art of bugging people.
An announcer excitedly screams about how you can make your own bugs at home, and it's not the boring brown kind either. Green, glowing, oozing, and perfectly realistic enough to scare your friends. For a 90s kid, this was the start of a glorious yet creepy introduction to the world of creepy crawlers. One of the weirdest, most beloved, and frankly, most dangerous toy franchises of all time. But where did it all start? How did it survive multiple decades? And what happened to that rumored movie? Let's dive into the creepy history of this iconic toy franchise, from its edgy beginnings to being an indispensable part of a kid's life growing up in the 90s. Chapter 1: Origins of Creepy Crawlers. To truly understand creepy crawlers, we need to zap back in time. Not to the 90s, but way back to the 1960s, the year 1964 to be accurate. This was a golden age for toys. Barbie was dominating the doll market, G.I. Joe was revolutionizing action figures, and Hot Wheels was changing the way kids played with cars. Mattel, the brains behind most of the iconic toy brands out there even to date, was constantly pushing the boundaries to create something even better, with Barbie and Hot Wheels already claiming the spotlight as one of the most popular toy brands for kids. There needed to be something new and innovative to grab the attention of the kids of the 60s. Mattel had a crazy idea. What if kids could create their own toys? Instead of just buying a figure or a doll, what if they could mold, heat, and customize their own mini creations at home? This idea eventually led to the creation of the Thingmaker. The Thingmaker was a do-it-yourself oven that lets kids pour liquid plastic into metal molds and bake their very own toys. It was a genius concept, hands-on, creative, and unlike anything else at the time. The ability to create your own toys was already novel enough, but what really caught the spark was that instead of focusing on monsters and aliens, which were popular concepts in the 1960s, the Thingmaker doubled down on creepy insects. Kids were creating spiders, scorpions, worms, beetles, and all kinds of creepy crawlies that they could use to prank their friends or freak out their siblings. And the fact that it was a simple process made the entire concept even more attractive for the average 10-year-old. Since rules and regulations on toys were relaxed compared to modern times, kids could simply buy a Thingmaker pack from the store and start popping out creepy crawlies that very afternoon by themselves. The process was simple but thrilling. You'd take a metal mold, fill it with a special liquid plastic called Plasti Goop, and then heat it up in the Thingmaker oven until the goop solidified into a rubbery bug. After a few minutes, you'd carefully remove the hot metal tray, let the bug cool down, and boom, you had a brand new custom-made rubber insect. It was part science experiment, part art project, and all kinds of gross fun. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for the Mattel group. The Thingmaker got hot. And when I say hot, I mean metal tray in a blazing oven hot. The heating element inside could reach a scorching 390 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to bake a pizza or give you some serious second-degree burns. Which is why we believe that the Creepy Crawlies toy series would never have the same effect today when compared to back then. Imagine being a 10-year-old, impatiently reaching for your brand new gooey bug, only to grab a piping hot metal tray by accident. Yeah, burn injuries? Oh, they happened a lot. Black and white caution signs warning of a hot surface weren't very common back. Toy safety was, well, let's just say looser back then. Seatbelts were optional, kids rode bikes without helmets, and if you burned yourself on a toy, that was just a learning experience. In fact, the added danger amplified the toy's coolness, as it certainly didn't scare away the kids or the parents. Chapter 2: The Rise and Fall of the Original Toy. It was the start of the 1970s, and what initially started as a simple toy series had grown into a complete sensation. The bug-making kit quickly evolved into a whole line of expansion packs, featuring new colors, new creatures, and even licensed themes. Mattel knew that they had struck gold with the Creepy Crawlies series, and doubled down to make hay while the sun shines. They introduced the Super Thingmaker, which had even more mold varieties and launched specialty packs featuring dinosaurs, aliens, and even characters from pop culture. Kids were now able to make everything from bugs to cartoon characters. Mattel played around with the Plasti Goop, changing it from a simple rubbery plastic into an art of its own. Glow-in-the-dark plastic, scented, and even those that change color were popping up in stores worldwide. Kids were now making glowing radioactive bugs instead of the now boring green ones. ones. Mattel just didn't let the hype die down. As a kid in the 1970s, if you had a Creepy Crawlies set, you were practically a miniature mad scientist. But even though the fun and the copious amounts of profits being reeled in along with screen time made everything feel dandy, the actual danger of the product never went away. No matter how fun it was to make your own bugs, the Thingmaker was still a literal oven marketed to kids. Burns were common, and stories of singed fingers and melted countertops became a part of Creepy Crawler's legend. The mid-1970s sparked the start of stricter laws into toy design as consumer safety groups started raising concerns about the risks. Lawsuits were popping up countrywide, and stricter toy safety regulations forced Mattel to rethink the whole Creepy Crawlers concept. By the end of the 1970s, the sales of the Thingmaker series had declined to the point where Mattel decided to remove it completely from the shelves. Was Creepy Crawlies gone for good? Or did the bugs crawl back from the dirt into the spotlight? Chapter 3, the 1990s Reboot. The bugs did in fact creep back out with the start of the 90s. The 90s were flashy with neon signs on every street corner. The television industry was booming, and the world had changed. Kids weren't into regular toys anymore. They loved video games, slime, and extreme marketing. The gross out culture was at an all-time high with Nickelodeon Gak, Goosebumps, Mad Balls, and anything oozy, slimy, or weird was a guaranteed hit. This all screamed the perfect comeback for Creepy Crawlers. Toymax, a toy brand that was known for reviving classic toy lines, decided to take it upon itself to do so. In 1992, a safer and slimier Thingmaker set was launched. The new oven still let kids create their own bugs, but with a lower heat system to reduce burns. The new Plasti Goop formula was also less toxic, but the toy still carried the same amount of gross, silly fun that catapulted them to the top a decade back. Toymax went all out with marketing, sticking to television advertisements catered to pull in the young viewers hooked into the screens. The advertisements were loud and colorful, and they had the expected results. Within days, kids were back to being absolute shenanigans, making glow-in-the-dark bugs and acting like little mad scientists. But Toymax knew that the sudden popularity was not the best way to keep the brand afloat. They decided to expand the series, and boy did they do that. Soon, you could make Power Rangers figures, Batman villains, and even aliens and predators. The goop came in neon, color-changing, and metallic varieties. It was the ultimate DIY toy experience. In 1994, someone had the genius idea to create an animated show for the toy series. The show followed a teenager who accidentally transformed into a half-insect superhero, fighting villains with bug-based powers. Yes, it was a bit strange, but it was the 90s. Literally anything popular has its own cartoon spin-off. For the 90s kids, Creepy Crawlers was a core childhood memory. The DIY creativity, the gross out factor, and the ability to prank your family made it one of the decade's most iconic toys. But the start of the 2000s marked a new challenge for the series. Internet and digital media were making waves as kids were hooked on video games. Card games from the East were spreading like wildfire, with titles such as Pokemon becoming household names. The lack of risk associated with the newer trends also favored better, with parents who were tired with 2 decades worth of burns, messes, and melted pots around the house. Chapter 5, the 2000s decline. The new millennium had shifted in. Kids were getting hooked on video games, trading cards, and digital entertainment. The market for DIY toys and just toys in general was on a steady decline as kids glued their eyes onto the screens of their Game Boys and PlayStations. The start of the 2000s started the slow and sad fade out of the Creepy Crawler franchise. Toymax struggled to maintain the popularity of the brand, even though they made more additions to the series than ever before. Newer molds, more action-themed kits, and robotic bug variations were streaming into shops, but kids just weren't as interested. The gross-out era was over, and the time had come for pixels and screens. In 2001, Toymax was acquired by Jakks Pacific, another toy company. Jakks Pacific attempted to revive the brand once again with flashier designs and commercials, but the hook never caught the attention of the kids. The Creepy Crawlers brand quietly fizzled out from the spotlight as corporations lost interest. By the mid-2000s, Creepy Crawlers had practically disappeared from toy shelves. Jakks Pacific still owned the rights, but no major efforts were made to bring it back to mainstream audiences. However, behind the scenes, there was an attempt to bring Creepy Crawlers to the big screen. Chapter 6, the movie. 2016 was a good year for toy franchises, and Hollywood decided to adapt toy lines into blockbuster movies. Creepy Crawlers did not go under the radar as a movie was suggested for the previously viral toy brand. The idea was to turn the toy line into an action-packed, family-friendly adventure movie. Details were scarce, but Jakks Pacific teamed up with Paramount Pictures to develop the project. The film was rumored to be a live-action CGI hybrid, likely featuring kids making creepy crawlers that magically came to life. Think Jumanji meets Goosebumps, but with mutant rubber bugs. The project was officially announced, and for a while, it seemed like Creepy Crawlers was about to make a huge comeback. But then, nothing happened. No casting, no trailers, no updates. Eventually, the project fell into development limbo and was quietly abandoned. With no movie, no new toys, and no buzz, Creepy Crawlers had officially crawled back into obscurity. But the true test was whether the iconic toy brand could crawl back out once again. Toy companies have been reviving classic brands, and 90s nostalgia is at an all-time high. With the right marketing, a modern reboot could actually work. The demand is still there. Even though Creepy Crawlers is no longer a staple on toy shelves, its legacy lives on. Collectors love the originals, and fans still reminisce about making their own slimy, rubbery bugs. Maybe one day, Creepy Crawlers will return, freak out a whole new generation, and reclaim its place as the ultimate gross-out toy.